The wind was a serrated blade, honed on the glacial peaks of Xylos and driven with relentless force across the frozen plains. It clawed at the Kryll mine, a jagged scar etched into the bone-white landscape, its entrance a gaping maw spewing dust and the exhaust of overworked machinery. Kryll mines weren't built. They were carved, hacked from the planet's very core with a brutal efficiency that left little room for beauty, and even less for comfort. From a distance, the mine resembled a petrified leviathan, its skeletal ribs jutting out from the icy terrain. Up close, it was a claustrophobic labyrinth of tunnels and chambers, illuminated by flickering, energy-starved lamps that cast long, dancing shadows. The air hung thick and heavy, a cocktail of frozen methane, metallic dust, and the sickly sweet, almost hypnotic aroma of concentrated Kryll. Inside, the miners toiled, their hunched figures like specters in the dim light. They were the Kryll junkies, as the council called them, a derogatory term that clung to them like the frost that coated their worn clothing. Their faces, etched with hardship and illuminated by the ghastly glow, told stories of lives spent in perpetual twilight, lungs scarred by the planet's harsh atmosphere, and bodies aching with the constant labor. Jax wiped the condensation from his oxygen mask, the recycled air doing little to alleviate the biting cold that seeped into his bones. He'd been working this seam for 15 years, and the chill never lessened. He glanced at the chrono embedded in his gauntlet, 7 o'clock standard, another cycle beginning. The sounds of the mine were a constant, jarring symphony of deprivation. The screech of drills biting into Kryll deposits, the groaning of support beams protesting under the weight of the icy mountain, the rhythmic drag of chains hauling harvested Kryll to the surface, and the throbbing pulse of the Kryll filtering machinery, a cacophony that hammered at his sanity, yet was, paradoxically, the rhythm of his existence. Today felt different, though. Jax couldn't shake off a feeling of unease. The wind howled with unusual ferocity, rattling the rusted supports of the tunnel. The tremors, normally a background vibration, were becoming more frequent and violent. He tightened his grip on his pulse rifle, a relic of the border wars, salvaged and modified to be a mining tool, but still lethal in the right hands. "Jax!" A voice crackled over his comm. It was Mara, his foreman. "Seam 7's unstable. Get your team out. Now!" His heart lurched. Seam 7 was where Lyra, his daughter, was working today. His daughter, barely 16 cycles old, her face still soft with the remnants of childhood, forced to labor alongside him in the unforgiving depths of Xylos. It wasn't a life he'd wanted for her, but Kryll was life on Xylos, and survival was a brutal equation. "Lyra's in Seam 7, he responded, his voice tight with anxiety. "I'm going in." "Jax, that's an order. Evacuate!" Mara's voice was insistent. He ignored her. He knew the mine, every crevice, every fault line. He knew how to move quickly, how to anticipate danger. He couldn't afford to wait. He pushed the throttle on his mining rig, the machine responding with a reluctant growl as it lumbered forward. The tunnel narrowed, forcing him to duck his head. The rhythmic pounding of the drill became deafening, a maddening metronome counting down to disaster. The ground trembled more violently now, dust cascading from the ceiling. He found her in a small alcove, huddled with 3 other Kryll junkies, faces etched with fear. Lyra's face lit up as she saw him, a fleeting smile illuminating the grime. "Dad!" "No time for greetings," Jax said, his voice harsh with urgency. "Seam 7's collapsing. We have to move now." He grabbed Lyra's hand, the warmth of her gloved hand a small comfort in the overwhelming cold. The group scrambled out of the alcove, Jax leading the way, his instincts honed by years of experience in the mines. Then it happened. A deafening roar tore through the tunnel, followed by a shudder that threatened to rip the supports from their foundations. The roof began to buckle, sections of ice and rock collapsing inward. "Run!" Jax yelled, shoving Lyra forward. They sprinted through the collapsing tunnel, debris raining down around them. The walls were closing in, the tunnel shrinking with every second. Jax knew they wouldn't make it. "Dad, I can't!" Lyra cried, stumbling over a fallen rock. Without hesitation, Jax pushed her ahead, towards the faint glimmer of light at the tunnel's end. "Go, Lyra! Run!" He turned back, bracing himself against the support beam that was groaning under immense pressure. The tunnel behind them collapsed, sealing off their escape. "Dad!" Lyra's scream pierced the chaos. Jax stared at his daughter, her face a mask of terror, her eyes wide with disbelief. He knew this was the end. He had failed to protect her. He managed a strained smile. "Be strong, Lyra. Live for both of us." The beam gave way. The world exploded in a blinding white light. Then nothing. Jax awoke to the sterile chill of a metal table. He gasped, struggling to sit up, his body screaming in protest. He was no longer in the mine. He was in a stark, white room, surrounded by unfamiliar machines and illuminated by a soft, pulsating, green light. Panic clawed at his throat. Where was Lyra? Was she safe? He tried to stand, but his limbs felt heavy, foreign. He looked down at his hands, and his breath hitched. They were different. Sleeker, stronger, with subtle metallic sheens woven into the skin. A figure moved into his line of sight. It was an alien, unlike anything he had ever seen before. Tall and slender, with smooth turquoise skin that seemed to absorb the light. Her eyes were large and black, devoid of pupils, and held a strange, unreadable intelligence. "You are awake," she said, her voice strangely melodic and filtered through an unseen device. "Where am I? What happened to Lyra?" Jax demanded, his voice rough and strained. "You were dead. But I saved you, in a way," she replied, tilting her head slightly. "As for Lyra, she is safe, for now." "What does that mean?" "For now?" Jax's body tensed. The alien scientist walked closer, her gaze piercing. "Your body was damaged beyond repair. But your mind, your essence, it was salvageable. I have rebuilt you, Jax. I have made you better." Jax stared at her, a whirlwind of emotion swirling within him. Hope, fear, confusion, and a growing sense of dread. He was no longer the man he once was. He was something else, something new, something other. "Why?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Why did you do this to me?" Anya simply replied. "Because time is running out, and your skill will be greatly needed for us to survive as a planet." The emergency beacon shrieked, a high-pitched whine that cut through the already oppressive din of the Kryll mine. But Jax barely registered it. His world had narrowed to the seam of glittering orange crystals in front of him, the rhythmic thrum of his mining rig, and the persistent ache in his back. The Kryll, the lifeblood of Xylos and the bane of his existence, demanded constant attention. He adjusted the focusing lens of his miner's lamp, bathing the crystalline vein in a blinding white light. Kryll, in its raw form, was a beautiful thing. Like frozen fire, it pulsed with an inner luminescence, its geometric facets reflecting the light in a kaleidoscope of orange hues. It held the promise of warmth, of energy, of a future, however bleak, for his daughter. But its beauty was a siren's call, masking the inherent danger and insidious allure of addiction. Jax's face, framed by the worn, oily fabric of his mining hood, was a roadmap of hard-won survival. Deep lines were etched around his eyes, the legacy of staring into the unforgiving glare of the Kryll deposits for years. A jagged scar, a pale white line that bisected his left eyebrow and disappeared into his hairline, was a souvenir from a rockfall during his rookie cycles. Smaller scars, like whispers across his skin, told stories of near misses, of equipment malfunctions, of the relentless pressure that clawed at every miner in the depths of Xylos. His eyes, though, were the most striking feature. Once they'd been a clear, steely gray, the color of a Xylosian storm sky. Now they were permanently tinged with orange, the Kryll dust seeping into his very being. They were the eyes of a man who had seen too much darkness, too much loss, but still held a flickering ember of hope. Kryll orange, a brand of his profession, a mark of his servitude, but also a defiant spark that refused to be extinguished. He coughed, a dry, hacking sound that rattled in his chest. The air scrubbers in his oxygen mask were barely functioning, filtering out only a fraction of the Kryll dust and methane that permeated the mine. He tasted the Kryll, that cloying sweetness that clung to his tongue, a constant reminder of the slow poison he was inhaling with every breath. "Cycle up, Papa Jax?" A youthful voice crackled over his comm. It was Lyra, his daughter. Jax gripped the pulse rifle tighter, a surge of protective instinct coursing through him. "Just about, Lyra bird," he replied, forcing a cheerfulness into his voice that he didn't feel. "How's Seam 7 treating you?" "Rough," she admitted. "Readings are unstable. Foreman's got us on high alert. Can't wait for break." Jax's unease intensified. "Stay sharp, Lyra bird. And don't push yourself. We'll be out of here soon, I promise." He knew the promise was hollow. They were trapped, all of them, in this endless cycle of Kryll mining, barely eking out a living for the Council, the faceless authority that ruled Xylos and demanded its pound of Kryll flesh. "I know, Dad," Lyra said, her voice tired but resolute. "Just trying to earn enough creds for that new filter you wanted." Jax's heart ached. She was always thinking of him, putting his needs before her own. She deserved so much more than this life of constant toil and peril. She deserved to see the real sun, to breathe clean air, to have a chance at something beyond the suffocating grip of the Kryll mine. He slammed his fist against the control panel of the mining rig, a frustrated growl escaping his lips. "Damn the Council," he muttered under his breath. The narration begins. The voice is low, gravelly, tinged with world-weariness and a touch of defiance. Narrator: "They call us Kryll junkies, hopeless addicts, bound to this frozen tier of a planet by an invisible chain. They see only our need, our dependence on the orange dust that fuels their cities and their wars. They forget we are more than just a resource to be exploited. They forget we are people." Jax focused on his work, trying to ignore the tremor in his hands. He needed to concentrate, to extract enough Kryll to meet his quota and keep a little extra for his family. He would not let his daughter become another statistic, another broken body consumed by Xylos. He would find a way out. His thoughts drifted back to a time before the Kryll, before the cold, before the endless toil. He remembered his home on Earth, a distant, half-forgotten paradise. He remembered the green fields, the blue skies, the warmth of the sun on his skin. It felt like a dream now, a faded photograph from a life he could barely grasp. The siren call of the Kryll brought him back to reality. His sensors indicated a rich vein nearby, pulsing with potent energy. This could be it, the strike that would finally give them a chance to escape, to buy their freedom. He repositioned the mining rig, his movements precise and efficient. He calibrated the laser drill, the air growing thick with anticipation. He could almost taste the freedom, feel the warmth of a real sun on his face. He took a deep breath and activated the drill. The mine roared to life, the laser carving into the Kryll with blinding intensity. The ground vibrated violently, but Jax held firm, his focus unwavering. He watched the readings on his console, the numbers climbing steadily, promising a wealth beyond his wildest dreams. Suddenly, the readings spiked, the console flashing red. The air crackled with energy, a palpable sense of impending doom. "Jax! Get out of there!" Mara's voice shrieked over the comm. "Massive energy surge! The whole seam is going to blow!" This time, Jax didn't hesitate. He knew what that meant. A chain reaction, a catastrophic explosion that would obliterate everything within a kilometer radius. Seam 7, Lyra, all of them were in its path. He killed the drill, grabbing his pulse rifle. He had to reach Lyra, had to get her out of there. He sprinted towards Seam 7, ignoring the warning sirens and the frantic calls over the comm. His heart pounded in his chest, a drumbeat of fear and adrenaline. He could see the entrance to Seam 7, the flickering light beckoning him forward. He pushed himself harder, his lungs burning, his legs aching. He had to be faster, stronger. Then, the ground lurched violently. A deafening roar erupted behind him, followed by a shockwave that slammed into his back, throwing him forward. The tunnel collapsed, the entrance to Seam 7 vanishing behind a wall of ice and rock. He scrambled to his feet, coughing and sputtering, his vision blurred. He pounded on the debris, desperate to reach his daughter. Lyra! Lyra! Are you there? Silence. He hammered at the ice and rock with his fists, his pulse rifle, anything he could find. But it was no use. The tunnel was sealed, a tomb for those trapped inside. He sank to his knees, a hollow ache consuming him. He had failed. He had promised to protect her, and he had failed. He had sacrificed himself for nothing. He closed his eyes, tears freezing on his face. Lyra! He didn't see the blue glow engulf him, didn't feel the strange energy coursing through his veins. He didn't know that his sacrifice, though seemingly futile, had set in motion a chain of events that would change his destiny forever. The tremor was no longer a background rumble. It was a violent, bone-jarring lurch that sent miners sprawling. Jax instinctively shielded his face, the gritty ice spraying like shrapnel. The air, already thick with Xylos dust, now choked with newly pulverized rock, making each breath a painful rasp. "Brace yourselves!" Foreman Mara's voice, amplified by the comms, was a frantic screech. "Emergency lockdown! Repeat, emergency lockdown!" But it was too late for lockdowns. The mountain had decided. A colossal groan echoed through the mine, a sound that seemed to emanate from the very soul of the planet. Then, a section of the tunnel roof, directly ahead of Jax and his group, fractured. A hairline crack spiderwebbed across the ice, rapidly widening, until it became a gaping fissure. The glittering orange Kryll vein that had been exposed was now swallowed by the darkness behind the collapsing ceiling. The roar was deafening. Not the rhythmic drumming of the drills, but a monstrous, primordial sound of the earth giving way. Chunks of ice, rock, and mangled support beams rained down, turning the tunnel into a deadly shooting gallery. Panic seized the group. Miners screamed, scrambling for cover, their headlamps casting frantic, useless beams into the swirling dust. One miner, a youngling barely old enough to shave, tripped and fell, his body disappearing beneath a cascade of debris. Jax's mind, honed by years of reacting to crises in the unforgiving environment, clicked into overdrive. "Lyra, behind me!" he roared, shoving her towards a narrow crevice between two support beams. The crevice was small, barely enough room for three, but it offered some semblance of protection. He pushed two of the other miners inside, his heart pounding with a mixture of fear and resolve. He had to buy them time, had to give them a chance. But the mountain wasn't finished. The pressure increased, the support beams groaning like dying beasts. Jax felt the beam against his back start to buckle, groaning as it splintered. "It's going to give!" he yelled. "Get ready to move!" Another section of the roof collapsed, blocking the tunnel behind them. Escape was no longer an option. The mountain had them cornered. Jax assessed their situation. They had seconds, maybe a minute at most. The crevice was their only chance, but it wouldn't hold for long. He saw Lyra, her face pale and streaked with dust, her eyes wide with terror. He couldn't bear to see her die like this, trapped in the darkness, crushed by the unforgiving weight of Xylos. He knew what he had to do. "Lyra," he said, his voice calm and resolute, belying the terror that threatened to consume him. "Listen to me. When the beam gives, you have to run. Head for the surface. Find Mara. She'll know what to do." "But Dad," Lyra protested, tears streaming down her face. "No arguments," Jax snapped, his voice firm. "This is an order. Now promise me you'll do it." Lyra, her face illuminated by the flickering light of his headlamp, looked into his eyes, and for a moment, he saw the child she had been, before the Kryll stole her innocence. She swallowed hard, nodded. "I promise, Dad." "Good girl," Jax said, managing a weak smile. "Now hold on tight." He braced himself against the buckling beam, the pressure against his back intensifying. He could feel the wood splintering beneath his fingers, the air crackling with static electricity. He glanced at the other miners, their faces pale and resigned. He knew they understood what was coming. They were Kryll junkies, hardened by years of hardship, but even they couldn't face this kind of death without fear. He took a deep breath, filling his lungs with the stale, toxic air. He thought of his wife, Ilara, lost to the mines years ago. He hoped he would see her again, in whatever afterlife awaited them. He thought of Lyra, his bright, resilient daughter. He prayed that she would survive, that she would find a way to escape this frozen hellhole and build a better life for herself. Then it happened. The support beam finally gave way, snapping with a sound like a thunderclap. Jax felt a searing pain in his back as the collapsing roof slammed into him. He screamed, a primal roar of defiance against the crushing weight of the mountain. He saw Lyra's face, a kaleidoscope of terror and grief, as the tunnel sealed shut. Then, darkness consumed him. But before the darkness was absolute, a strange, pulsating blue light enveloped him. A feeling of weightlessness, of being pulled apart and put back together again, washed over him. Then nothing. The echoes of the collapse faded, replaced by an eerie silence. The Kryll mine, once a symbol of hope and despair, was now a tomb, a monument to sacrifice and loss. The first thing Jax registered was the cold. Not the familiar, bone-deep chill of the Kryll mine, but a sterile, artificial cold that felt alien and unnerving. It seeped through him, clinging to his skin, a constant, persistent hum against his senses. He tried to move, but his limbs felt heavy, unresponsive. Like wading through solidified Kryll dust. His eyes, accustomed to the dim, flickering light of the mine, struggled to adjust to the soft, pervasive, green luminescence that filled the room. It wasn't a natural light, but something manufactured, a cold, efficient glow that did little to alleviate the oppressive atmosphere. The room was a stark, minimalist space, constructed from polished, seamless panels that reflected the green light in unsettling ways. No visible seams, no rough edges, no imperfections. It was too clean, too sterile, too perfect. Jax found it deeply unsettling, a stark contrast to the gritty, chaotic reality he knew. Strange, humming machinery lined the walls, pulsing with an unseen energy. Wires, cables, and tubes snaked across the ceiling, disappearing into the smooth panels. There were holographic displays flickering with indecipherable symbols, intricate consoles covered with buttons and glyphs that meant nothing to him. He felt like a specimen in a jar, surrounded by instruments he couldn't comprehend, a world away from the familiar tools of his trade. He was lying on a table, cold and metallic, its surface contoured to fit his body. Straps of some flexible, shimmering material held him in place, restricting his movement. He tugged against them, finding them surprisingly resilient. "Easy," a voice said, smooth and melodious, yet laced with an unsettling detachment. "Movement is not advised at this stage." Jax strained his neck, trying to identify the source of the voice. A figure moved into his field of vision, blocking the soft green light. It was an alien. He'd seen aliens before. Miners sometimes unearthed strange relics, artifacts of long-dead civilizations buried deep within the Kryll deposits. He'd even seen off-world traders on the surface, their ships shimmering like mirages in the Xylos storms. But this was different. This was no trader, no fossilized relic. This was something else. Her skin was a vibrant turquoise, smooth and flawless, like polished jade. Her features were delicate, almost ethereal, with high cheekbones and a narrow jawline. Her head was elongated, almost ovoid, and crowned with a delicate circlet of shimmering metal. Her eyes were the most striking feature, large black orbs that seemed to absorb all the light around them. They were like pools of liquid darkness, devoid of pupils, and held an intelligence that made Jax's skin crawl. She moved with an unnatural grace, gliding across the room as if she were weightless. Her movements were precise and economical, betraying a deep control over her body. She wore a simple, flowing garment of shimmering white fabric that clung to her form, accentuating her otherworldly beauty. "Who are you?" Jax rasped, his voice still rough from the mine collapse. "What is this place?" She approached the table, her black eyes fixed on him with an unsettling intensity. She reached out a long, slender hand, her fingers tipped with delicate, almost crystalline nails. Jax instinctively flinched away, but the restraints held him firmly in place. "I am Anya," she said, her voice still filtered and strangely detached. "And this is a place of beginnings." "Beginnings?" Jax repeated, suspicion lacing his voice. "What kind of beginning? Where am I?" Anya ignored his questions, her gaze unwavering. "You were dead, Jax. Crushed by the weight of the mountain. Your body irreparable." She paused, her black eyes narrowing slightly. "But your mind, your consciousness, that was another matter. I salvaged it. I preserved it. And I have given it a new vessel." Jax stared at his hands, at the faint metallic sheen woven into his skin. He remembered the burning pain, the crushing weight, the final, desperate moments before oblivion. How could he be alive? How could this be real? "What did you do to me?" he demanded, his voice rising in anger. Anya tilted her head again, a flicker of something that might have been pity crossing her face. "I gave you a second chance. A chance to live, to serve a greater purpose." "A purpose?" Jax scoffed. "What purpose could I possibly serve? I'm just a miner, a Kryll junkie. What good am I to you?" Anya smiled, a fleeting, almost unsettling expression. "You underestimate yourself, Jax. Your strength, your resilience, your adaptability, these are valuable qualities. And I need someone with your skills for a task that could determine the fate of my people." She stepped away from the table, her gaze sweeping over the machinery that lined the walls. "My world, it is dying. We are running out of time, running out of Kryll, the energy source that sustains us." "Kryll?" Jax repeated, a flicker of recognition sparking in his mind. The same stuff that trapped his people on Xylos. "Yes, Kryll," Anya said, her voice hardening slightly. "You know its power. You also know its scarcity. The Council, the governing body of my planet, has exhausted our natural reserves. We are on the brink of collapse." She turned back to him, her black eyes boring into his. "I have discovered a new source of Kryll, a vast and untapped deposit hidden on a distant planet. But the journey is perilous, the obstacles insurmountable for ordinary beings." She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. "I need someone with your strength, your skill, your desperation, to help me secure this Kryll. I need you, Jax." Jax looked around the sterile lab, at the unfamiliar machinery, the impassive alien before him. He thought of Lyra, her face etched with fear, her future hanging in the balance. "And if I refuse?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. Anya's expression didn't change. "Then you will remain here, in this state of suspended animation. Neither alive nor dead, existing only as a potential. A wasted potential." He knew what she meant. He would be trapped in this alien prison, his mind drifting in a sea of nothingness, forever haunted by the memory of Lyra. He couldn't do that. He couldn't abandon her again. Jax closed his eyes, took a deep breath. The stale, recycled air burned in his lungs, but it also filled him with a strange, newfound resolve. "What do I have to do?" he asked, his voice barely audible. Anya smiled, a genuine smile this time, revealing rows of perfectly white, almost crystalline teeth. "You have to save my world, Jax. And in doing so, perhaps you will save your own." The strange machinery around him hummed, the green light pulsed. He felt a surge of energy coursing through his veins, a burning, intoxicating power. He was no longer the broken, weary Kryll miner. He was something more. He was Anya's weapon. He was Xylos's hope. And he was going to do whatever it took to protect his daughter. Anya approached the metallic table, her movements fluid and unhurried, in stark contrast to the chaotic turmoil raging within Jax. She held in her hand a small device, shaped like a polished shard of obsidian, that emitted a soft, pulsating light. "Before we proceed," she said, her voice still filtered and oddly calming, "it is essential that you understand what you have become." She held the device over Jax's chest, the pulsating light intensifying. He felt a strange tingling sensation, a vibration that resonated deep within his bones. Projected on the wall beside him, a holographic image of his body shimmered into existence. But it wasn't quite his body. It was a schematic, a blueprint of flesh and bone overlaid with intricate patterns of circuitry and bioengineered enhancements. "This is you, Jax," Anya said, gesturing towards the holographic display. "Or rather, what you have become. The damage you sustained in the mine was extensive. Reconstruction was impossible. So, what am I now?" Jax asked, his voice laced with apprehension. "You are a composite," Anya replied. "Your organic structure has been reinforced with advanced bioceramics. Your muscles are laced with synthetic fibers, increasing strength and speed. Your neural pathways have been rerouted, enhancing reflexes and cognitive function. You are, in essence, Jax version 2.0. The holographic image shifted, highlighting different aspects of his enhanced physiology. Jax stared, mesmerized and disturbed, at the intricate web of technology that now resided within him. "Bioengineering?" he asked, his mind struggling to grasp the implications. "You turned me into a machine?" "Not a machine," Anya corrected, her tone precise. "A synthesis. The best of both worlds. Your humanity, your memories, your emotions, these are still intact. But now you possess the tools to survive, to thrive, to protect." She deactivated the device, the holographic image fading from the wall. "Now, it is time to test your capabilities. I have prepared a training area. It is time for you to learn to wield your new gifts." Anya gestured towards a doorway that shimmered into existence on the opposite side of the lab, revealing a brightly lit, spacious chamber filled with strange and intimidating equipment. As Jax swung his legs off the table, the bonds constricting his movements released with a gentle hiss. He stood, feeling a surge of power he had never known before. His limbs felt lighter, yet stronger, more responsive than he remembered. He took a hesitant step, then another, his body adjusting to the new balance, the enhanced capabilities. "What is this place?" Jax asked, his eyes wide with a mixture of apprehension and anticipation. "This is the Crucible," Anya replied, her gaze steady. "Here you will forge yourself anew. Here you will become the weapon I need you to be." The Crucible, as Anya called it, was a sprawling, multi-level complex, a labyrinth of training chambers and simulation rooms designed to push his enhanced physiology to its absolute limits. The walls were constructed from a smooth, dark material that absorbed sound and light, creating an atmosphere of intense focus. Strange symbols pulsed with energy on the walls. Anya began his training with a series of physical tests. Jax found himself running faster, jumping higher, and lifting weights he never would have dreamed of before. His body responded with an almost unsettling eagerness, his muscles coiling and uncoiling with explosive power. He was amazed by his new strength, yet also disturbed by the feeling of being disconnected from his old self. The body felt like someone else's. Next came the sensory training. Anya exposed him to extreme temperatures, deafening noises, and blinding lights, pushing his enhanced senses to their breaking point. He learned to control his reactions, to filter out distractions, to focus on the essential details in the chaos. Then, the martial arts training started with his new enhanced ability, time manipulation, but not entirely perfect. The ability is very draining to use and is dependent on the body's ability to keep up with the speed. Anya led him into a large, open chamber, the floor covered in a complex grid of lines and symbols. In the center, a hulking training bot, crafted from polished chrome and bristling with weapons, stood silently waiting. "This is the Centurion," Anya explained. "It is programmed with the combat techniques of 1,000 different species. It will test your reflexes, your agility, your strategic thinking." Jax eyed the machine warily. It looked intimidating, its metallic frame radiating a silent menace. "And if I fail?" he asked. "You will learn," Anya replied, her voice devoid of emotion. "Or you will be destroyed." The Centurion sprung to life, its sensors locking onto Jax. Its metallic limbs moved with surprising speed and grace, launching a barrage of attacks from every angle. Jax found himself dodging, weaving, blocking, his enhanced reflexes barely keeping him alive. The Centurion unleashed a series of punches and kicks, each blow carrying enough force to shatter bone. Jax dodged, feeling the wind of its passing ruffle his hair. He tried to counterattack, but his blows seemed to bounce harmlessly off the Centurion's armored plating. Anya watched him impassively from the observation deck, her black eyes scanning his every move. He knew she was analyzing his weaknesses, cataloging his strengths, calibrating the training regimen to push him further, harder. He needed a new strategy. He couldn't simply overpower the Centurion. He had to use its own strengths against it. He focused, drawing on his enhanced cognitive abilities. He analyzed the Centurion's attack patterns, identifying its weaknesses, its blind spots. He observed how it moved, noting the subtle shifts in its balance, the slight delays between attacks. Then, he saw his chance. As the Centurion launched a sweeping kick, Jax ducked under the blow, using its momentum against it. He grabbed the Centurion's leg, his enhanced strength allowing him to lift the heavy machine with ease. He swung the Centurion around, using its own weight to slam it against the nearest wall. The impact reverberated through the chamber, sending shards of ice and rock raining down from the ceiling. The Centurion groaned, its movements becoming erratic. Jax didn't give it a chance to recover. He unleashed a barrage of punches and kicks, targeting the Centurion's vulnerable joints and sensors. The machine staggered, its movements becoming slower, more predictable. Finally, with a desperate burst of energy, Jax leaped onto the Centurion's back, ripping out a power conduit from its central processing unit. The machine shuddered, its lights flickered, and then it crashed to the ground, its metallic limbs twitching feebly. Jax, exhausted but triumphant, stood over the deactivated Centurion, his chest heaving, his muscles screaming in protest. He had survived. Anya's voice crackled over the calm. "Progress, Jax. But you are far from ready. Tomorrow, we begin the sensory simulations." The sensory simulations were designed to break him, to push him beyond his physical and mental limits. Anya subjected him to a gauntlet of horrors, immersing him in virtual realities that mirrored the horrors of his past, the loss of his wife, the suffering of his people, the suffocating despair of Xylos. He was forced to relive the mind collapse, the searing pain, the suffocating darkness, the terror on Lyra's face. He was forced to confront his deepest fears, his darkest memories, his greatest regrets. He fought back, clinging to his sanity, refusing to be broken. He used his newfound strength and agility to navigate the virtual landscapes, to overcome the virtual enemies. He learned to control his fear, to use his pain as a weapon. Anya observed his progress, her black eyes never wavering. She didn't offer him any comfort, any encouragement. She was simply there, a silent witness to his torment. Jax stood panting, the artificial gravity pressing heavily upon his rebuilt frame. The Centurion lay silent and inert, a testament to his newfound power, a chilling reminder of Anya's manipulations. He waited for Anya to return from the observation deck. The silence stretched, punctuated only by the hum of the laboratory machinery. Jax knew that the longer she waited, the worse the news was going to be. He wiped the sweat from his brow, the lingering traces of the Kryll mine clinging to his skin. He felt a growing sense of unease, a premonition that his second chance was about to come with a far steeper price than he could have imagined. Finally, the doors shimmered into existence, and Anya glided into the training chamber. Her expression was unreadable, her black eyes as inscrutable as ever. "You have shown remarkable progress, Jax," she said, her voice still devoid of emotion. "Your adaptations are exceptional. What do you want from me?" Jax demanded, cutting her off. "You said you saved me for a reason. What is it?" Anya didn't flinch. "I require your assistance, Jax. Your unique abilities are essential for the survival of my planet, Cryslithos." "Cryslithos," Jax repeated, testing the unfamiliar word on his tongue. "What's so special about Cryslithos?" Anya hesitated, a flicker of something that might have been sadness crossing her face. Cryslithos is a dying world. We are dependent on Kryll, just as your people were on Xylos. It is the lifeblood of our civilization, the source of our energy, our technology, our very existence. And you've run out, Jax said, stating the obvious. Anya nodded, her expression grim. Our natural reserves have been exhausted. The Council, the governing body of my people, has made regrettable decisions in the past. They prioritized short-term gain over long-term sustainability. Now we face the consequences. So you need more Kryll. That's why you saved me, Jax said, the pieces of the puzzle starting to fall into place. Precisely, Anya replied. I have located a new source of Kryll, a vast and untapped deposit on a distant planet. Another planet? Jax scoffed. You expect me to believe that? To go gallivanting across the stars for some alien crystal? The truth is more complex than that, and the universe has some secrets to share with humanity soon, so I know you will know what you mean soon, Anya replied. The truth is more complex. Yes, you're not just going for Kryll. There is something more, Jax. Something you will be greatly rewarded for. And you would be the perfect candidate to get it for me, she said, her black eyes narrowed. What is that thing that I will be so rewarded by? He asked. Anya walked toward the front of the glass before she spoke to him again. It is something that'll bring not just the planet back to its glory, but will bring you a better understanding about your purpose. Anya's voice was steady, without wavering as she approached Jax. But I need your help, and if the mission fails, Cryslithos will disappear into darkness, along with everything I hold dear. Jax stood still, for he could see nothing but the genuine need for his help. His past life was not something pleasant, and helping Anya might be a good starting point for his new chapter in this world she brought him to. If you could, what would you do with this ability to traverse among the stars? Anya broke his train of thought. Jax stood there, reminiscing about his past. All of what he did was for his family, and he wasn't going to stop it here either. I want to take my daughter far away from Xylos, he said, determination filling his voice. You want her to have a chance that would never be possible where you were at. Anya smiled, her gaze unreadable. That is why I chose you in the first place. A wave of relief washed over Jax as he heard her response. His head began to flood with questions that he was afraid to ask, but he knew he would. So, when do we begin? Jax asked. Anya led Jax through a series of sterile white hallways, the pulsing green light illuminating their path. Jax noticed small details along the way, complex alien symbols etched into the walls, diagrams showing what he assumed were Cryslithan biological structures, and glowing green conduits carrying some sort of energy through the walls. It was all alien, all advanced, and all unnerving. They arrived in a large chamber where there was a blue window. What he saw was an astonishing view, more vibrant than the dull and frozen world he had lived in before. This is our ticket, Jax, Anya said. The spaceship looked quite small from the outside, but Jax could see the craftsmanship from where he stood. Anya, what exactly do you need me to do on this assignment? Jax asked with a deep voice. Because I'm not seeing just one objective on this assignment. Anya began to give a look, and he realized that the tone of his voice was too serious to get anything done. Alright, let's go get you better gear first. Your clothes are not going to cut it to our final destination, Anya said with a smile. Jax felt a growing pressure from every step that was coming towards him, but he knows that he needed to keep moving forward. They turned into a room where Jax's measurements were taken and a suit was being made to help him to move freely in the climate that they were heading to. Now, Jax, this has an oxygen capacity that will last you 3 Earth days and will automatically adjust to the atmosphere to help you last as long as possible, Anya said. There's also some new things I made to help you. Jax began to be confused about why he had so much time put into him by Anya. What's the catch, Anya? Jax asked. You could have put me in the mines of this world, why give me this much gear? Simple, Jax, Anya said with her usual tone. Your potential is limitless, but with me, it can be perfected. Anya proceeded to hand over Jax's equipment that he will need in his journey to Cryslithos. The stark white walls of the lab seemed to close in on Jax. The humming machinery pressed against his ears, amplifying the chaotic thoughts swirling in his mind. Anya's words echoed in his head, a chilling reminder of the impossible choice he was being forced to make. Save her planet, or ensure his daughter's future. How could any father choose? He turned away from Anya, pacing the sterile floor, trying to find some semblance of clarity. He wanted to believe her, wanted to embrace the hope she offered. But the memories of Xylos were too raw, too vivid. He knew the promises of power, of prosperity, of a better life, were often hollow, empty shells hiding a deeper, more sinister truth. This, Kryll, whatever it is, it's not worth my daughter's life. It's not worth my life, Jax said, his voice rough with emotion. I spent years hauling this rock, watching people die before the age of 30 because of it. Don't talk to me about saving anything with Kryll. Anya remained silent, watching him with those unsettling black eyes. Her composure was unnerving, a stark contrast to the storm raging within him. I understand your reservations, she said finally, her voice carefully measured. And I would never ask you to endanger your daughter. But you must understand the stakes, Jax. This is not just about Cryslithos. It is about preventing a catastrophe that could ripple across the entire sector. She paused, a flicker of urgency in her gaze. The Council, as inefficient and short-sighted as they are, has already begun preparations for the mission to this new Kryll planet. A new ship will be launching soon, the Horizon. If we don't secure this source, they are prepared to do whatever is necessary to get Kryll, to leave even more people like you, dying and begging for it. Jax shook his head. I don't care about the Council. All I care about is Lyra. Anya looked with unreadable intent in her eyes. I can offer you more than just guarantees, Jax. I can offer you a home, a life outside of Xylos. A place where Lyra can breathe free from the dust, where she can choose her own destiny. Jax stopped pacing, his body going still. He knew where this was heading, but a wave of cautious optimism began to spread through him. What are you saying? He asked, barely daring to breathe. Anya stepped closer, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. I can get you and Lyra off Xylos. I have the resources, the influence. I can smuggle you both onto the Horizon as auxiliary crew, hidden from the Council. A new life awaits you. His eyes widened, and with a trembling breath, replied. And then what? A new life slaving away at a different rock farm? No. Once we are on board, I can redirect its course to Cryslithos, Anya said. You have been through the simulations and training, and I do require your strengths. What will come of it is whether you will continue to work alongside my goals. Anya paused for a moment. Once we get to Cryslithos, Lyra will be looked after in one of my research facilities. Safety is always my priority. A seed of hope blossomed within Jax's heart. It was a risky proposition, a gamble with everything he held dear. But the alternative was to remain trapped on Xylos, watching his daughter slowly wither away. And what if we fail? He asked, his voice barely a whisper. What if we can't secure this Kryll source? Anya's expression hardened, her turquoise skin taking on a deeper, almost glacial hue. Then all will be lost. But I believe in you, Jax. I believe that you have the strength, the courage, to succeed where others have failed. She extended her hand, her black eyes locking onto his. Will you help me, Jax? Will you help me save my world, and give your daughter a future? Jax stared at her hand, at the smooth, alien skin that offered him a lifeline out of the darkness. He hesitated, his mind racing, weighing the risks, the rewards, the cost of failure. His gaze drifted towards the opposite side of the chamber. An inactive hollow projector sat gathering dust with a half-finished meal beside it, the Kryll making his skin crawl. Finally, Jax spoke with a determined look. I'll take it and accept the mission. Anya smiled and went on to explain the upcoming procedures before they depart towards Cryslithos. He was going to go get Lyra and to meet her again, along with accepting his fate as something more than a father. She's also been injected with my formula, just to be clear. Otherwise, she will not be able to come. Can you live with that, Jax? Anya asked, with a tinge of emotion he couldn't comprehend. For now, Jax didn't seem to care. The cockpit of the Horizon was cramped, a stark utilitarian space filled with humming consoles and flickering displays. Jax, strapped into a pilot's seat he barely understood, gripped the control yoke, his knuckles white. Anya, standing beside him, monitored the navigation charts, her black eyes darting across the holographic projections. Entering the Crimson Expanse, Anya announced, her voice calm despite the swirling chaos of nebulae visible through the viewport. The Crimson Expanse was a region of space notorious for its volatile energy fields, rogue asteroids, and hostile inhabitants. It was a graveyard of lost ships and broken dreams, the price of passage being measured in luck and skill. Buckle up, Jax, Anya said, glancing at him. It's going to be a bumpy ride. The Horizon plunged into the Crimson Expanse, and the cockpit erupted in a symphony of alarms and warning lights. Jax gripped the controls tighter, his newly enhanced reflexes kicking in as he wrestled the ship through the turbulent energy fields. Asteroids, some the size of small moons, hurtled past the viewport, narrowly avoiding collision. Energy surges pulsed through the ship, threatening to overload the systems. The Horizon groaned and shuddered, a fragile vessel battling the raw power of the cosmos. Evasive maneuvers! Anya barked, her fingers flying across the navigation console. Asteroid cluster dead ahead! Jax responded instantly, throwing the ship into a series of daring rolls and dives, narrowly avoiding the deadly debris. He felt a thrill course through him, a surge of adrenaline that sharpened his senses and honed his focus. He was no longer a Kryll miner, but a pilot, a warrior, a survivor. The familiar sensations of danger brought his memories from Earth coming back. A pilot, flying around the world and having all his crew depending on him for success. But the asteroid cluster was just the beginning. As they navigated deeper into the Crimson Expanse, they encountered other threats: space pirates, energy anomalies, and strange, bioluminescent creatures that lurked in the shadows of the asteroids. Each challenge tested their skills, their ingenuity, and their growing trust in one another. Anya's expertise in piloting and navigating proved invaluable, as she used the ship's various systems. The crystalline maze. The planet was enveloped in strange crystalline. Navigating through them were proving to be difficult to scan. The ambush. While en route, there was a trap being set up and multiple gunships fired from the crystalline surfaces. Anya pulled the ship into a tight roll, avoiding a hail of laser fire. We have company, Jax. Bandits, looks like. He gripped the pulse rifle Anya had given him, a sleek, alien weapon that felt strangely natural in his hands. How many? At least 3 ships, heavily armed. They know we're here, and they want what we have, Anya said as she weaved into the Kryll's veins. They want the what? Jax asked. That is to be explained soon, Jax, Anya said as she braced to prepare Jax's next move. The enemy ships closed in, firing a barrage of laser fire that hammered against the Horizon's shields. Anya dodged, twisted, and weaved, the ship responding to her every touch. Shields are failing, Anya yelled, her voice strained. We have to shake them off. Jax felt a surge of anger. These pirates were not going to stop him. He was too close to his goal, too close to saving Lyra. I have an idea, Jax said, his eyes narrowing. But it's going to be risky. I'm listening, Anya replied, trusting his judgment. Jax grinned, a predatory glint in his eye. Let's give them a little taste of what happens when you mess with a Kryll junkie. Jax had noted the ship's capabilities and was able to plan around it. Anya, though worried at first, slowly understood that it was what Jax needed to use. What Jax and Anya used was the landscape to their advantage, allowing a series of lasers to set off the dust storms that the bandits weren't prepared for. Using those to their advantage, they eliminated one. They were running out of time. Jax knew they had to go on the offensive. He activated the ship's stealth cloaking system, a risky maneuver that would drain the ship's power but give them a brief window of opportunity. "We're cloaked," he announced. "Time for a little payback." Using their advantage to reach the main boss, they took him down and secured their position. Now there's a beacon in the crimson expanse, giving them the lead. "Now to get the information from the source," Anya muttered. "Are you ready for this?" "Let's do this. I didn't become your bodyguard for nothing," Jax muttered back. Anya, now acting as his security, had her with him as he secured their surroundings. Then the world that Jax has only seen in the simulator opened around them, and for him. At that moment, he did not regret his decisions. Anya has a lot of explaining to do, but for now, it's time to secure this Kryll for Cryslithos. In the center was a large gate-like structure where they were able to secure more information. At that, the ship's doors released a pod that scanned the area in response. "Now that we know how to get what we need, let's go," Anya said, starting the ship with the coordinates. "It's time to go through hell." Jax was at the helm as the ship set its engines toward the next destination. His life has been a cycle of Kryll mines, his heart filled with nothing but work to provide for his daughter, and after years of doing something else, he felt something awakening. This mission was to secure his future, and to bring his daughter. It was something he would do, anything for her. Anya seemed to notice and smiled. "You have an oddly determined look, Jax." "Just have a lot of determination," Jax replied with a wry smile. "That I believe, and it's good to see it is going to good use," Anya replied. With that, the two set off towards the planet that holds the answers and resources to their survival. The horizon ripped through the void, leaving the crimson expanse behind like a discarded skin. Inside the cockpit, Jax felt the ship's hum change, a subtle shift that indicated their arrival at their destination, Cryslithos. Anya initiated the atmospheric entry sequence, her fingers dancing across the console. "Prepare for turbulence, Jax. The atmosphere is volatile," she said, her gaze fixed on the swirling holographic image of the planet. Cryslithos was a world of breathtaking beauty and unsettling contrasts. A planet shrouded in swirling, iridescent clouds, its surface a tapestry of emerald forests, sapphire oceans, and towering, crystalline mountains that pierced the sky like jagged teeth. The name, Cryslithos, held its meaning as they approached the planet. But as they descended through the cloud cover, Jax saw something that chilled him to the bone: vast swaths of barren wasteland, scarred by what looked like colossal explosions. The vibrant green was replaced by a desolate gray, the glittering crystals by a landscape of ash and desolation. It was a beautiful planet dying. "What happened here?" Jax asked, his voice hushed with awe and dread. Anya's expression darkened. "The Kryll Wars," she replied, her voice tinged with bitterness. "Ages ago, Cryslithos was engulfed in a conflict that nearly destroyed us all. Our ancestors fought fiercely over the remaining sources of Kryll, unleashing weapons of unimaginable power. This," she gestured at the ravaged landscape, "is what remains." The horizon navigated through a treacherous canyon carved from solid ice, the walls glistening with bioluminescent fungi that cast an eerie, ethereal glow. They entered a sprawling, underground cavern, a massive space carved from the turquoise rock. "Welcome to the Citadel," Anya said, her voice echoing in the vast chamber. "This is the heart of Cryslithan civilization, the last bastion of hope for my people." The Citadel was a marvel of engineering, a testament to the ingenuity and resilience of the Cryslithans. Towering structures of polished metal and crystal spiraled upwards, their surfaces etched with intricate symbols and glowing with an inner light. Bridges of shimmering energy spanned the chasms between the structures, creating a dizzying network of pathways. But even here, in the heart of their civilization, Jax could see the signs of decay. Cracks spiderwebbed across the crystalline surfaces, lights flickered erratically, and the air hung heavy with a sense of desperation. The Citadel was beautiful, but it was also a dying world. They disembarked from the horizon, stepping onto a platform that shimmered with an energy field. Jax felt a surge of disorientation as his body adjusted to the planet's gravity, which was slightly higher than what he was accustomed to. "Follow me," Anya said, leading him towards a complex of buildings at the far end of the cavern. As they walked, Jax was struck by the sight of the Cryslithons themselves. They were slender and graceful, with skin of varying shades of turquoise, and black eyes that seemed to hold an ancient wisdom. They moved with a quiet dignity, their faces etched with a mixture of hope and despair. He noticed that many of them were missing limbs, replaced with intricate prosthetics crafted from metal and crystal. He also saw evidence of illness, of the debilitating effects of Kryll dependency. Many of the Cryslithons coughed, their bodies shuddering with tremors. As they passed, some of the Cryslithons stared at Jax with open curiosity, their black eyes filled with wonder and apprehension. Others averted their gaze, a mixture of distrust and fear flickering across their faces. He was an outsider, a stranger, a symbol of their desperation. Anya led Jax through a series of corridors and chambers, each one more impressive than the last. They passed through bustling marketplaces filled with exotic goods, through hydroponic farms where strange, bioluminescent plants were cultivated, and through research facilities where scientists in gleaming white robes were conducting experiments that Jax couldn't begin to understand. "This mission is a necessity, Jax," Anya said, her voice firm. "If we fail, all of this, all of my people, will be lost." The trials they faced on that one planet had forged a strange bond, a connection forged in shared pain, resilience, and a flicker of something more. While Jax trained to harness his new body, Anya devoted herself to a single-minded purpose: helping humanity. "If this works, we can prevent more people from being Kryll junkies," Anya told Jax with the look on her face, "and make use of their skills where they can be used." That night Anya had led him through the forest canopy to the largest canyon to his knowledge. "This should bring her down," Anya said with a stern voice. As Anya set about her work, Jax began to reflect on a lot of things during this trek. What was he looking for in saving Lyra? What has he been looking for all his life? His mind went back to all of his training. The faces that he had trained with before his mission, how everything felt so surreal and how he was able to grasp everything in such a short period of time. He shook that thought away before his old life took over him. "You seem to know this tech well. That just as likely doesn't come from the miners, does it?" Jax asked as he approached Anya. "That's for another story for another day, soldier," Anya said. "Just trust in me here. When this ship lands, and it will be soon, we need to be on the lookout for trouble." Jax did not say another word as he scanned the area around him, finding high ground where the two can defend themselves. "She's coming now," Anya finally said, staring at the horizon. "Let's see where this takes us." The night was broken and a loud thud crashed near them. She was an older Kryll miner, yet she had seen many things, and what she gave him that day would change Jax's life forever. Several months passed. Jax's past had been an image that could never be truly remembered, and his goal was to protect his Lyra. With Anya by his side, he felt like anything was possible. And for most of his life, it was nothing but impossible. However, David could feel that she was looking further and further away. Always helping other villages with their issues, and he was always on guard watching his daughter and taking what missions he could to help. With David's help, Anya was now well respected in the community as they started to provide for them, and it seemed like he was not needed. He needed to change that. He needed to learn where his place was. While working on his drills in the workshop with the other miners, he approached one who has lost both his arms. "Hey there," David said, "do you want me to assist you? I think I'm free to help with some time today." The robot arm miner turned around. "Are you serious?" "With how I've been feeling, it has to be done," David said. "To be honest, people like you don't usually look us in the eye, so if you can, I would be forever thankful." Jax could see it in his face. What he has been through was nothing compared to what other people have been doing. "Teach me all you know, give me what I need." With that, Jax had gone back to the drawing boards, putting himself into his people and not just saving his daughter. Time stretched, and now Lyra was working alongside David. The once meek daughter now had strength and power. "Hey there, Dad." Lyra started. "I got a new shipment I wanted to show you." With a beaming smile, she showed what it had to offer. A shield for the cold, new tech to help dig through new caverns, and more. What do you think? She asked with a beaming face. Is this what you truly want, Lyra? David responded. Lyra looked confused as to what his father had meant and responded with an angry tone, Dad. Don't do this. I owe everything to you. This is my choice and all that I need, and I would like to help others as well with what I was given, she retorted back. What do you think? Lyra asked. David could not refute it. His daughter's orange eyes showed the determination that has carried him this far. He puts his hand on top of his daughter's with care. Show me. And together the two set off to discover what her powers can do, with Anya looking on from the side. She has had everything all figured out. A few days later, the three were by the ships again with Anya staring out into space. The ship is all ready. What are we thinking? Anya asked. Jax finally said something back. We're going with you. We'll see what it has to offer. It is an honor for you to come with me, Anya said back. Then it was time to finally start it up. It was time for a new beginning. The three boarded the ship and began the journey back to Earth to finally show what Kryll and Power was capable of doing. From the ashes of a painful past, a new hope has sprung. Two worlds, two people, together building a brighter future, a future where both science and determination can make a true alliance. Jax and Anya stand side by side, the orange glow of their planet mixing with the icy blue of Xylos, looking towards a horizon shimmering with untold possibilities. Lyra was with them, giving a salute to all.